Hi, I am Joe, and today I want to do a book talk on First Impressions by Charlie Lovett. When I saw the book First Impressions, that title grabbed me right away because First Impressions was the first title or working title of Pride and Prejudice. Then the subtitle, a novel of old books, unexpected love, and Jane Austen. Hook, line, and sinker. I had to get this book and it was on the shelf at my library the day that the book was released. What in the world? I can't, how fortuitous. So this book is about a girl named Sophie in present day London and also Jane Austen. It goes back and forth every other chapter. So Sophie's story, I'll tell you a little bit about that first. She has graduated. She doesn't, from university, she doesn't know exactly what she's going to do with her life. She goes home to visit her family. So she lives in this huge estate house and there's this library in it, but all of the library books are locked up. It's not a library that she could just go in and look at the books, and they're all old books. And she has this uncle Bertram that lives in London. He has an apartment, and his apartment is filled with shelves and shelves and shelves of books. When she was little, she used to go spend the weekends with him, and he really encouraged her love of reading. It was just a very different relationship with reading and books at her Uncle Bertram's than it was at her house. Now, Jane Austen's story in this book, she meets this man, Richard Mansfield, who lives in the gatehouse of a nearby estate, Busbury Park. Now, Mr. Mansfield in this book and Busbury Park are not real. They are fictional. Jane Austen and Richard Mansfield's relationship is a writing relationship. She writes bits, then she goes down to visit Mr. Mansfield. He critiques her work. She goes home and works on some more and stuff. Anyway, it comes to light that he has written a book. So Jane Austen and Mr. Mansfield work together on a writing project, which he tells her he will put in the back of the second edition of his book. So, present day, Sophie ends up working in a used bookstore. This man comes in and says, "Can you help me find this book?" And she takes down his information. And of course, he's handsome and dashing. The next day, she gets a phone call from a man that is very threatening and he wants the same book. So then she's wondering what is going on with this book. At the same time, she has met another man who is an American and he is a bit scruffy but handsome and he woos her a little bit. And one of these men is Wickham, the other man is Darcy. But I'm not going to tell you who is who. You're going to have to read this book and you're going to have to find out. It's such a good story. So there's Sophie's story where she's trying to find out the mystery of this book, why these two men want it, what's going on with it, and also trying to figure out her love life. Which of these men is the man for her, or just a man she wants to pursue a relationship with. And then there's also the unfolding story of Jane Austen and what happens with this book that she's writing with Mr. Mansfield. What everything culminates and comes together just so perfectly. The history of the book along with the history of these men, the Wickham and Darcy, and also Sophie's family history. It just all comes together. It's a real page turner. I love Jane Austen, and I'm a bit hypercritical of anyone using rewriting her stories or making retellings and whatnot. So I was a bit worried. But this book isn't so much about the actual books Jane Austen wrote. It's just more of a sort of a theoretical story leading up to her authoring this book. And it was very amusing. It's just lovely. It has things that really happened in Jane Austen's life. She had a niece named Anna who was always wanting to hear more of her stories. Her sister is their move to Bath. All of that stuff actually happened. So it was very nice. I like how he put his fictional story with her story. I love Sophie's story. She's a young book lover. She has a wonderful relationship with her uncle. She's smart. She's on, like the cusp of her adult life and doesn't know where to go. I love that there's a Wickham and Darcy. I just love that. And there's just so many little things in this book that I just really enjoyed. The way that Uncle Bertram organizes his books. It's just ingenious. I love it. So if you were thinking about picking up this book by Charlie Lovett, I highly suggest that you do. He is currently on his book tour, which is up and down the East Coast, mostly in the Carolinas, I think. I don't understand, why don't authors come to Pittsburgh? I need some authors to come to Pittsburgh. You can follow Charlie Lovett on Twitter. His Twitter handle is Charlie Lovett 42, and he's very nice. He's actually tweeted me, and I was so excited because I'm like, this is him. He wrote a book, and I have this book. And I've entered a couple contests to win signed copies of his books. If you follow him on Twitter, like, he retweets those things. So I'm really hoping, fingers crossed, that I win a signed copy. I just really enjoyed this book. And I also now want to get his other book, The Bookman's Tale, which I don't really know what it's about, but I love this one so much that I can't wait to get my hands on that one. If you've read this book, let me know down below. I know it just came out last week, so maybe a lot of people haven't read it yet. Or if you have read The Bookman's Tale, let me know, and I will talk to you later. Bye.